Greetings, our Frederick Riddle here with another Christian news and views. This is episode 251, and this is Monday. Well, got some good news. Hamas freed all 20 remaining living Israeli hostages from the Gaza Strip on Monday morning, following a U.S.-led deal reached late last week. The Palestinian militant group handed them to the International Committee of the Red Cross in two batches. Israel received the first seven hostages around 8:45 a.m. local time, that being uh, Israeli time, and the final 13 were released to the ICRC roughly 2 hours later. Israel's military later confirmed those 13 were in Israeli territory. Israel has yet, wait a minute. Israel is yet to comment on the condition of any hostages after more than 2 years in captivity. Around the same time, Israel began freeing jailed Palestinians. There were scenes of jubilation in cities such as Ramallah in the West Bank and Khan Yunis in Gaza as they got out of buses to be met by cheering crowds. The first group of hostages was freed just before U.S. President Donald Trump arrived in Israel for a Middle East trip to celebrate the ceasefire deal clinched last week, also with Egyptian, Qatari, and Turkish mediation. Trump has said the agreement should end the devastating 2-year conflict in Gaza. The president met at Tel Aviv's main airport by Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu will address the parliament in Jerusalem on Monday before traveling to Egypt for a signing ceremony with world leaders. They will, according to the Egyptian presidency, include the United Kingdom Prime Minister Keir Starmer, French President Emmanuel Macron, German Chancellor Friedrich Merz, Qatar's Emir Sheikh. I'm going to have a problem with this one, folks, but I'll do my best. Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani, and Canada's Prime Minister Mark Carney. The long list of leaders underscored the importance to Trump of ending the war, stabilizing the Middle East, and deepening ties between Israel and Arab states. The Egyptian government said Netanyahu would join the Egyptian summit too, though the premier's office later said he will be unable to attend due to time constraints. It was unclear why Netanyahu declined President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi's invitation, which Axios reported was made at Trump's behest. As of last week's agreement, 48 hostages, all but one of them male, were still held in Gaza, with 20 of them alive. Hamas has agreed to release the remains of all dead captives, though it's unclear if that will happen on Monday or take longer. Israel is obliged to free almost 2,000 Palestinian prisoners, some of them former Hamas members serving life sentences. Israel has pulled back troops from most populated areas in Gaza and has agreed to allow much more aid into the devastated Mediterranean territory, home to around 2.2 million people. Almost all of them have been displaced since the war began on October 7th, 2023, and the Hamas-run health ministry in Gaza says more than 67,000 of them have been killed. The Israeli military says almost 470 of its soldiers have died in combat in Gaza. The war has led to crises in the wider Middle East, triggering conflicts between Israel and Iran-backed groups in Lebanon, Syria, and Yemen, and between the Jewish state and Iran itself. It's also led to mass protests around the world, most of them in support of Palestinians. Their suffering has led to Israel's growing isolation, and including among key allies in Europe. After the living hostages arrive, the Red Cross will return to Gaza to get some of the deceased abductees. Gal Hirsch, coordinator of prisoners of war and missing persons for Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, told reporters on Sunday, "We aren't saying the exact number that will come back tomorrow. Hamas, considered a terrorist group by the U.S. and European Union, launched the war with its 2023 attack. While firing 5,000 missiles at Israeli towns, thousands of its operatives crossed into Israel and killed 1,200 people, abducting another 250. The majority of the hostages were freed during earlier ceasefires in late 2023 and in early 2025. A United Nations-backed body declared a famine in parts of Gaza in August because of Israel blocking aid, and experts have charged Israel both with genocide and a policy of forced starvation. Israel denies the allegations. Broadly, Israelis and Palestinians have reacted with joy to the ceasefire and hostage release deal. Gazans are shattered after 2 years of intense conflict. While Israel has not achieved Netanyahu's stated aim of destroying Hamas, and there's no guarantee the group will disarm, as Trump's 20-point peace plan states it must, the country has seen social divisions and economic strains worsen the longer the war has gone on. The shekel strengthened to a 3-year high this month on the prospect of an end to the conflict, while Israeli stocks and bonds have risen. Israel's borrowing and fiscal deficit have soared since the war started. So here's my opinion. This news is warmly received by all who want peace. But it must be remembered that this is just the first step to any peace agreement. It's not the peace agreement itself. It's just the first step. The second, and I believe the most important thing to remember, is that any peace deal reached will only be relative, not real peace. Man cannot achieve a true eternal peace in this area of the world. But when Christ returns at the close of the Great Tribulation, which has started yet, he will resolve the issues and peace will ensue. But relative peace is such a huge deal that we should rejoice over the first steps and work for the remaining steps. So it's been as far as the start of a week goes, you couldn't ask for much better than that. It is, like I said, a relative peace, but that is much more preferred than what we've been having for the past couple of years. And it's only in one part of the world, but it's still a relative. It may be relative, but it's still going to be peace. In that there should not be any more missile attacks on Israel, no more military attacks on Hamas. In fact, Hamas is supposed to leave. Whether they do or not, we don't know. But this is good news, and we should treat it as such. We should also continue to pray for and work for a peace agreement. Again, I know it's just relative, but that is would be such a huge deal in this day and age. The real peace is at least 7 years away. The Great Tribulation takes place, and that's for 7 years, and we haven't gotten there yet. You and I are still here, right? And that takes place after the rapture. So, in the meantime, this relative peace, I think, will eventually lead, if this is the one preceding the return of Christ, then I think that this will lead to Israel disarming to a degree, maybe taking down their Iron Dome, and being a country at peace. Because remember, the Bible talks about unwalled villages, and that suggests peace. And so Israel is going to be at peace with its neighbors. May even have ties, economic ties, and other things. But when what we believe is going to be Russia will come down to invade Israel, it will find a country ill prepared to stop them. And they'll come swarming down, and then God himself will stop that invasion. And then we get into the Antichrist and all that. Well, that's it for today. I hope this has been instructive. I hope that gives you something to chew on, think about, determine where you stand on the issues. Please leave a comment. And perhaps someday it may turn up here on this podcast. But if I get comments, I respond to comments. So that's it for today. I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you in the next episode.